Hey guys, welcome back to the Philco 50T-1404, that's 50T-1404 restoration project. If you recall, this was put on hiatus along with a few others because I needed to track down some parts, in particular a new picture tube and some knobs. I did, in fact. I got another entire parts chassis, and now it's time to put it all together. So, rather than just getting a picture tube, I have the whole halo assembly, yoke, everything. So rather than try to transfer the picture tube to that, which is what came with this set, I'm going to double check and make sure that this is all identical, and if it is, I'm just going to install this entire thing as it is. So this is a type where the picture tube mounts to the cabinet, not to the chassis, which means you can't fully check it 100% until it's all put back together. Kind of annoying. I used my bench CRT on this. Seems to be working well, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. I don't have to tear this thing apart again. So we mount this with 3 nuts up front, which I saved. Highly recommend when you take things like this apart, as soon as you take a nut off of something, put it right back where it was. So I have all the nuts and washers that go with this, and those 2 side pieces attached here and here, some extra bracing in the back. This is for an internal antenna, which I'm sure will never be used, so I think I can safely just snip off this wire, get it out of the way. But that's what this is a built-in bow tie antenna in the top of the cabinet. And there's a control up front that goes to this rod, which adjusts, I think, a variable capacitor back here for tuning. Anyway, so picture tube and then the cabinet. I touched it up a bit. There was a lot of loose woodwork. I glued and clamped it all, but we need new feet. 2 in the front are still there, but the backs are missing. I went to the hardware store and got the closest thing I could find that was pretty much the same as the old school feet, so I pop off the last 2 and put on a whole new set of 4. And then I'll put the picture tube in. Alright, obviously the picture tube is good, and I am using the yoke and focus coil assembly that came with it. I have a test pattern going in, and it's a little bit tilted. We need to straighten that out and move things over a little bit, but linearity is alright. Volume is weak though. I got the volume up all the way right now. And I guess the power switch is bad. I honestly don't remember from when I started working on this set. I think I bypassed it as best I can remember. Well, I did scavenge that control out of the parts chassis, so I haven't secured this chassis yet or anything, so it's easy for me to pull it out, and I want to go over the tubes again and make sure everything's up to snuff, so you can get that volume working a little better there before we wrap this project up. See, that volume control is a little flaky too. Maybe our volume is just fine and it's the control that's shot. Here's the salvage control. Hopefully that will do the trick. Now I also have this out. If you recall, this set came with a necked CRT. I suspect because the back was missing, as is often the case with these early sets. So I went through my very limited stash of backs I've scavenged out of sets. I came up with this RCA, in particular because it has a deep cup on it, because this neck sticks out quite far. This will do the trick nicely. I just need to trim down the sides a bit. Masonite, hardboard, whatever you want to call it. It's not the easiest stuff to cut, but I'll give it a whirl, maybe on a table saw or a hand saw. Don't have to cut off too much. Definitely want to protect it though, otherwise it's very likely to get whacked off again. One thing I want to do before we button this project up is recheck all the tubes, and in order to do that I pulled out an old friend, my Hickok Cardmatic 121, which I haven't used in a while, and I would like to, and I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of it in the near future. So what is it? It's a tube tester where Instead of having all those rotary switches and push buttons and levers, you just put in a punch card, and that selects the filament voltage and the plate load and grid bias and so on. What I really like about it is tubes like a 12AU7 or 6SN7 that I use buckets of. You can test both halves very easily by pushing different test buttons. You don't have to change all the settings like I do on my Hickok 600. Why don't I use this more often? Cards. They come with a basic set of cards, which I have, and I bought another batch off of eBay, which had some duplicates, but some I didn't have. Even so, I don't have anything even close to a complete set. For example, Predictas. I worked on a whole bunch of Predictas. I'm missing the cards for half of the tubes used in Predicta TVs. Basically, I have all the cards that you'd find in stuff from 46 to 56-ish. Maybe 52, 53 would be more accurate. Well, I just purchased 400 more off of eBay. He only showed a few, but of the dozen or so he showed, I think I was missing all but 2 of them. So I'm hoping I got a bunch more I didn't already have, which case I will use this a lot more. And you might be thinking, oh, you can reverse engineer it and you can punch your own cards. Yeah, I can. Or I can use a different tester that has it in the roll chart and move on with life, which is what I've been doing. But I think for this set being from 1950, I'm pretty darn sure I have every card used in this set. I will demonstrate that. I'll demonstrate it with the 6SN7 right here. So, no, if you're familiar with these, this is not the highly regarded Model 123. This is the lowly Model 121, which I actually prefer. I'll tell you why. The 121 is solid state. It was made basically for TV repair guys. Solid state, no warm-up time, just turn it on and go. It's quick and easy to use. The 123 is a cool bit of engineering. One of the main differences being the 123 uses a series pass regulator for the filament supply, meaning it has a voltage reference with a gaseous regulator tube. And when you say you want 6.3 volts, it has a voltage regulator and it provides 6.3 volts to the tube. This is old school, where it has a big old transformer with a bunch of taps for the filament supply. And when it just, if you want 6.3, it selects the 6.3 tap off the power transformer. And you do have to double check the line test and rotate this to get it on the line. That's probably the most significant difference. But the benefit of this is nothing to go wrong. There are no tubes in this that you have to replace, unlike the Model 123. You don't have to let it warm up. You just go. And for TVs, we don't need precision. So we need to find the 6SM7 cards. I'm actually hoping to get some dupes. I'm hoping to get dupes of the common ones, like 6AU6 and so on. So instead of having to dig through these packs of cards, I just keep 6AU6, 6SN7, 12AU7, just keep those cards loose and quick to grab. Yeah, these are a numeric order, but still can take a while to find what you want. Alright. And notice the 6SN7 has 3 different test cards. They're for different modes of operation, say oscillator versus amp versus something else. Unfortunately, they don't tell you which card is for which tests, but, again, if it tests good with one card, it's probably good with the others. So, pop in our tube, warm them up a little bit, we do a line adjust, rotate this switch so it's on the line, or as close to it as we can get. And cool thing about this is if there are any shorts, you don't have to rotate anything for a shorts test. The neon lights just light up. So if they're off, we don't have any shorts. And to check the quality, we just do this. And to check the quality of the other half, we do that, and we're done. I just tested that too. That's why I like this tester. The test fantastic, no, but it's definitely in the green. So, and both halves are very, very close to each other. Gas test, sure, you can do that. Man, I don't think I've ever found a gassy tube. You can usually tell because the getter's turned white. So, there we go, tube tested. Yeah, I should let it warm up longer, but I'm making a video. I don't want you guys to sit and watch a tube warm up, but that's the basic idea. And then you move on to your next tube type. Well, I used my low-end Ryobi table saw with the stock blade it came with, and I am pleasantly surprised. It cut this very easily with no tear out. So, we now have a Franken Philco, RCA Philco back. Even the screw holes line up. Those 3 screw holes along the top were already there, and they work out just fine. So, and most importantly, the cup lines up. I didn't have to trim this top at all, so that was a real win. While checking the tubes inside the high voltage box, I was reminded that the original plate cap lead for the 6BG6 was gone, and I just twisted a wire around it. So I went out to my parts chassis, and this is what was on here originally. And I can see now why this one is stretched to the limit, because this is very likely not original, because the other one has 2 of these on it, which I'm not a big fan of. I can see why they would have failed, because you stretch these a couple times while replacing the tubes, and I bet metal fatigue kicks in, they just fall apart. What I like a lot better are the spring variety. You squeeze it to expand it and they come right off. So I scavenged a couple of these from an RCA parts chassis, and I'm going to install these in place of what's on here now. Got all good tubes populated and everything. Found one 6BC5. It has 5 6BC5s, which are essentially 6AG5s, slightly improved, that had a plate short. So curious to see what difference that would make. Otherwise, there was just one weak 6SN7 that had to be replaced. And while I was at it, I put in a new old stock 1B3 now that I've got a supply. Also finished replacing the volume control power switch. Well, while I had this one out, I played around with it and worked it, and did get the switch kind of working. Not as reliable as I'd like it, but the volume is still flaky, so I'm glad I replaced it. It's an identical control. And while working under there, I encountered a couple of these guys, which when I initially recapped it, I assumed were mica and left them in, but oh no. These are paper hiding inside Bakelite. They're .01s. .01 is too big for a mica cap. So I replaced both of those. We'll see if the sound is any better, any different. Probably not, but I'm glad I replaced these anyways. These are not at all reliable. That's much better. I went ahead and replaced the high voltage leads while I was at it because they were getting a bit short. So time to put the high voltage cover back on and put this back in the cabinet. And let's see how it performs now.
Beat the Yanks in them. How wrong they were. And we
Needs a bit more tweaking, but we're getting there. It's close.
Threw flowers. Felt so grand. How wrong we were.
I dug up a set of matching knobs, cleaned them up, installed them. I've had the set playing for a while. It's playing quite well. So I think the last thing to do is install that modified RCA back, and we can call this one done.
Oh my. All for me.
Yeah, I'll be right over. You sure you love me, cutie pie? Of course I do, darling.
Might be some Philco engineer or marketing person rolling over in their grave right now, but hey, you know, considering something like 70-80% of these 40s TVs are missing their back, the fact that I had a spare one and it fits so well, I think is kind of a match made in heaven. So RCA on a Philco. There you go. And that CRT neck is protected.
Now, from here on, pianissimo, keep it under while I talk. Softly, softly.
So that is going to be it for the Philco 50T-1404 restoration project. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Science evolution, the art of misdirecting thought. If you will try and keep your thoughts on what I am doing, there, that's fine, fine.